You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Greetings, one and all. Welcome to another Sunday night with the Trophy Whores. This is episode number 659, so we're one shy of big old 660, and I think just 7 or so shy of 666, which don't expect Tricky to be here for that one.
I am not going to be here for that one. I'm not being on that episode. I'm not listening to that episode. I'm not editing that episode. I have nothing to do with that episode.
Who hasn't been to the store and gotten a charge of $666 on whatever they bought?
If I did, I immediately
thought
bought something else.
I thought we were skipping that episode because it's like 13
No,
for you.
we are not skipping that episode
not skipping
because
that
this is not.
I wanted to skip that episode, but somebody over there who is going to remain nameless says we're not allowed to.
The
Today's
Gravelli takeover establishes dominance that episode 666 will be a thing. And if you play the
Yeah.
podcast backwards, it'll summon somebody special.
Hey, you know all those shirts that people wear that they say "Not today, Satan"? You know what I say? Today, Satan.
Everyday Satan.
Ha
With that, you heard Tricky, you heard Alex. The only thing left to do is say hi, Yield.
What's going on?
Well, we heard Yield too, by the way.
Yeah, but he was just critical about what we were doing as far as 666 existed or not. So the team is here tonight. We are here to talk about all things gaming and trophying. However, I am going to relinquish a couple minutes of the show because I know our main man, Alex, over there had a special event he went to last night, and I figure the boys are going to want to talk about it, and this gives me time to tune out for a little bit.
Just hey, back to the
Alex.
zone out.
So, well, here, I guess I'll give it to Yield or Tricky. Like, what do y'all want to know? For those who don't know, I went to the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis last night, the WWE Royal Rumble 2025. It's only about 2 hours away from where I live, so I was like, hell yeah. Bought tickets last year as soon as any became available. Paid a pretty penny for them. I went with a friend from high school. We grew up playing like the N64 WWE games and WCW games, so we have a long history of watching wrestling and just enjoying it together. So like we grew up during the Attitude Era, and been longtime buddies, and just was really glad I got to go with him. We paid with fees probably like $800 for the tickets. So, but it was a bucket list item, and I wanted to make sure we went because who knows the next time the Royal Rumble is going to be close to us. Next year they're taking to Saudi Arabia, so I want to make sure we went this year. In the future, I'll probably wait a little longer to see the tickets go down in price. But hey, bucket list item checked off. Yield, Tricky, is there any questions you wanted to ask me? You all watched the event, and we were texting a little bit, but
What was I going to say?
Well, I'll just ask this. You have any intention of trying to go to WrestleMania since it's going to be in Indy as well?
it's not going to be in Indy.
Next year.
Is it going to be in Indy next year? Have they confirmed
Yes.
that? The tickets are going to be the tickets
There's
are going to be
3 events
insane.
going. When they announced the Royal Rumble, they announced that 3 events are going to Indy. I forget the other one though.
But I know that
Maybe SummerSlam.
WrestleMania is in Vegas this year, but also next year. So if it is in Indy, I mean, first of all, the ticket prices are going to be absurd, and that will be an event that sells out right away. Like we paid basically $300 per ticket, and I don't really want to spend a lot more than that. So quite frankly, I can't see myself going to WrestleMania simply because of the price of the tickets. It's going to be insane. And so the great thing about us being 2 hours away is we were able to drive home last night after the event. Wasn't that bad. They do have a hotel right across a Holiday Inn, across from the Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Colts play, where they held the Rumble, which I'm assuming is where they're going to hold WrestleMania 2. So there is lodging around there, but also I didn't want to pay the ridiculous bumped up fees for the room. So lucky enough to be able to drive home. But to answer your question, Tricky, no, the prices are probably going to be way too much for the WrestleMania.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, Yield, do you have any questions?
Hold on, let me finish my candy bar.
All right, well, then here, I'll just give my thoughts, and then if I don't answer what you specifically are curious about, then I'll let you ask. Overall, it was a good event. Lucas Oil Field is a nice stadium. It was a nice venue. I will say, like, the cool thing is, like, it was really nice because they had like a dome. There's a top on it, so it's not like an open air stadium. So like being there in the winter, we were towards the top, so if it would have been cold, it would really have sucked. But they have a roof on it. The cool thing is, though, on the north and south sides of the stadium, they have like giant windows, so you can look outside the venue and see like different parts of the city, which is just a cool look, especially like when you get like to orient certain like camera angles, like with the ring and the Royal Rumble signage, and then have the windows in the back and the rest of the stadium seats. It was just a really cool place to hold it. So Indy was a good choice. House pretty packed. There were over 60,000 people there, and like I said, it was just kind of like a bucket list item for me because I want to be there. We all count down for the Royal Rumble for every entrant, you know, in our own homes, but to be able to do it with 60,000 other people was just a really great experience. You know, saw some great wrestling. I don't necessarily know that we want to go blow by blow for every match. Like the ladder match, some insane bumps between Kevin and Cody. Hopefully Kevin Owens is not injured after that final bump he took, because everyone in the stadium was like, oh, like collectively, oh fuck.
If you watch it on TV, it looks like it looks so bad because his head just happened to land in between the rung, and when he folded over, I'm not gonna say he's not injured or not, but the way it looked, I think it looked a lot worse than what it is because he was able to roll over and not have his neck, you know.
I was more ouch, so to speak, of the bump before that. When he
the one in the ring,
when he came off the
suplex onto the ladder,
Kevin took the worst of that because when he landed, he caught his lower back and his head on the ladder, and I was like, "Ow!" There was 4 or 5 times during that match where I'm just like, "Ow!"
Yeah, they weren't doing chair and table spots. People were wanting tables. There wasn't a single table. It was all ladders. They were all doing ladder spots, and they're metal. They fucking hurt. So
the only thing I don't get about that match is why even bring Sammy out if he's not going to do anything.
Because Kevin could then come out and say tomorrow on Raw and Netflix, "Hey, you didn't stop him from doing this to me."
Yeah, but he could say that even if he was in the back.
Yeah, but he's right there. He's right there next to it. He could have. He had a better chance to stop it.
Yeah.
So he could say to Sammy, "Hey, you checked on me, but you didn't stop Cody from doing this to me."
Yeah, and Cody's definitely turning heel soon, so
we'll have to see, especially with who won the Rumble. The Rumbles, I enjoyed both. There were more surprises in the Women's Rumble, but the Women's Rumble was a lot more sloppy than the men's. There was just like, you could just see, like, you get people in there like Maxine Dupree and B-Fab, and they're just like, they're kind of sloppy. They're not that sound when it comes to wrestling. So, I mean, overall, they were both enjoyable. It was really nice to see some of the, like, Alexa Bliss, who came back. Everyone was, you know, it was rumored she was having contract issues, but she came back and the place popped. People popped for Charlotte, even though, you know, Charlotte winning the Rumble was kind of like a bleh ending. But people there loved it. People there loved Charlotte. So people popped for Trish. There was, you know, but yeah, I mean, just the only thing that held back the women's match was just general sloppiness. But the men's match had, you know, fewer surprises. You know, everyone knew Joe Hendry was going to be in it, so there was no real surprises in the men's Rumble, which they've kind of done over the last couple of years. There hasn't been anybody like, say, the Hurricane to come back, or, you know, whoever. So a little bit.
AJ Styles was a nice surprise.
He kind of was, yeah. But I'm talking about like old school, like somebody from like the last 20 years, you know, early 2000s.
I hate when they do that because you know that they don't have a shot to win. Yeah.
Okay, but you also know ISHO Speed had no, and Otis. There were so many people in that match, you know, had no Rey Mysterio, Penta. I mean, they put Penta in there, and he had a good showing. But
how did the stadium react when both Penta's feet hit the ground?
Oh, everyone's like, his feet hit the ground. Like everybody knew it.
I don't know. On TV, it looked like it was only one.
No, I mean, they clearly show it.
Yeah, everybody caught it. Everyone reacted like that. But I mean, once, you know, the match got going again, I think everybody forgave it. But he was clearly in there because he's over and they want to sell merch. But there's so many people in the Rumble that you know aren't going to win, realistically. Overall, it's really good.
When they got down to those last, like, what was it, 8-10 in the ring, I was like, you know, I can make a case for any one of these being the Final Four. So I was glad it
got eliminated.
Well, yeah, so was I, because I was like, as it got down to the final 3 and he was still in it, I'm like, MFer, man. They better not be putting him in the main event.
Yeah, everyone. There wasn't a single person. Well, there's one guy behind me who was cheering for Logan Paul, but everybody else in the stadium was booing him. Everyone was cheering John Cena. People wanted John Cena to win that match. I think people were happy with Jey Uso winning. They just kind of came out of left field because no one expected Jey Uso to win that match. And to be fair, I don't necessarily know that Jey Uso was a WrestleMania main event kind of guy. Like,
what? He's main event Jey Uso.
In a tag team, he's fine, but his wrestling moveset is so limited. So many super kicks, maybe a Samoan drop here and there, the open hand slaps, like the slap. There's a reason that Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso was by far the worst match at WrestleMania last year. It's because the Usos.
I disagree.
The Usos are, dude. Go look anywhere. Everyone agrees.
You just hate the Usos.
That match was, dude. That match was awful.
Usos are the best tag team in wrestling today. Hands down.
No, the Motor City Machine Guns are. They're the best.
Oh shit! They're sloppy as shit.
No, they're not.
They look old. No.
Do you know the Usos are both almost 40, if not 40? You can't talk.
They don't look it at all.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, overall the Rumble
Chris Sabin looks like he should be in a wheelchair in a nursing home.
Oh bullshit, Tricky. This is coming from a guy who looks like he's 30 years older than he actually is, Tricky.
All right, hold on. Catch up on the chat here. Dex is saying he was hoping for Aleister Black. I think a lot of people were.
I think his contract is there's still a window there where he can't come back quite yet.
And he says, damn Tricky, I have to agree with Alex. I don't know particularly what point, but he's agreeing with you. Also, Jurassic Parky, welcome to the chat.
So overall, I mean, men's match was really good. I think it was one of the better men's rumbles that I've seen. And I mean, again, Jey Uso surprise finish that because I think once Cena got kicked out, the stadium just like, oh shit, and, and it's not like people didn't want weren't happy for Jey Uso, but just like you could tell that stadium wanted John Cena to win. Like they wanted Cena to win. So
I'm okay with it because I didn't want Cena to win it for the fact of this is his last run. If they're going to give it to him, then build it, so to speak, not just. This is my last Rumble. Oh, look, I won. It would just be like, oh, wow. Didn't see that one coming.
A lot of people are praising his post-conference speech.
That was pretty good. I saw that.
He came out there. He didn't say a word. He didn't answer one question. He's like, in all my years, I've never asked or demanded anything because of my stature. This time I am. And then Triple H came out and said, yeah, he's earned it. He's in the Elimination Chamber.
So yeah, I mean the Cena story, they're going to keep it going. I don't know necessarily that he's going to win the title, but I mean hopefully that my one worry about the Elimination Chamber is the fact that the injury factor, like the chances for people to get injured, which I mean again, like Cody Rhodes being your champion going to WrestleMania on the road to WrestleMania, having him in a ladder match taking some of those spots, kind of risky. But I know we're going long here, but I just kind of want to finish up here.
Rick is in the chat saying yawning sloth gif.
All right, sorry, Rick. I'll get this over you. Tag team match was really good action between the two teams. The arena though was just silent for most of it, which is really a shame because I love the Machine Guns. I think like they remind me of the Rockers. I
thought it was a good match.
Tag team specialists, they do like Corey Graves. I love the Corey Graves quote. Like most tag teams are on the same page. They're in the same syllable. I love the Machine Guns. I don't think that WB has done a great job building up this feud and also putting it between two Rumbles and a ladder match. It's like a death spot. It doesn't really help them. But the crowd did start to get into it towards the end when they started doing like some really impressive moves. So wish the Machine Guns had won, but I guess the story continues. I mean, hopefully, they'll always be in the mix for the tag titles. I just don't really know what they're doing with the Street Profits. They've been there for so long and nobody cares. Nobody cares about Angelo Dawkins at all. So Montez Ford can maybe break off and do some solo stuff because he's Bianca Belair's husband. So he'll be around, but I don't know. Yeah, so overall good event. One thing I will say is that if you're going to start charging people so much for tickets, you got to maybe have more than 4 or so matches. I get the Rumbles themselves are a couple hours long each, or an hour long each, but I don't know. I feel like you need a little bit more. Like some events they do are like 4 or 5 matches. Look, I don't want the things to last for 6 or 7 hours, but it almost feels like if you're going to charge people as much, you need to give them a little bit more. I'll say that.
And the last thing I'll say is what a waste on number 30 in the women's Rumble.
It should have been AJ Lee, but at this point, if AJ Lee didn't come back this time, she's not coming back. we just kind of need to face those facts. So, but overall, really good event. Enjoyed it. Glad I got to go. No, for the future, I'll know to maybe wait on tickets a little bit because we were high up. And even though we could see the action in the ring, we did spend a lot of time watching the monitors, the big screens in front of us. So, but yeah, had a lot of fun. Glad I got to go, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the Rumble because, I personally don't think I don't necessarily agree with who won the Rumbles. I think you could have picked better people in both situations, but we'll see the story play out.
All right, Matt, time to wake up.
Oh, what? Huh? Well, okay. Oh, look at that. We're done with wrestling chat. No, Alex, I'm glad you went. I'm glad you had fun. That's why I wanted to give you guys time to talk about it because I knew it means a lot to you. So with that said, we can get on with the show and go to our updated trophy counts. Tricky.
Oh. I wasn't prepared. I am level 962, total trophies of 34,115 with 984 platinums.
Alex?
Do I have? I don't see
I updated you.
Okay, there it is. I just had to wait for it to update. Sorry, I was looking at my inbox for it. I am level 517, total trophy count of 10,475, and a platinum count of 188 and 187 games. I haven't done much as far as trophies go this week. I actually may have only gotten one, because I'm doing a lot of background work in Assassin's Creed, and that can take a while. So,
yes, it can.
Okay. Yield?
Level 525 with a trophy count of 10893 and a platinum count of 206.
Oh, watching.
All right. I am still level 221 with 1,333 trophies and 0 platinums, but I did earn my last achievement, which is solve the passage puzzle. And I'll talk about that when I get into what I've been playing. So Sid is level 891, 27,102 trophies, 844 platinums. And that is it for the trophies this week. And we will go into what we've been playing. So
Hold up. Trophy rarity update.
Oh, trophy. Oh, okay. Well, let's add that to the. Oh, look at that trophy. Okay, I'm going to call it trophy rarity in the notes so that way I know.
Okay. All right. So these notes were provided by Garrett. Positions and points. Yield, you have dropped from 6th to 7th because you only scored 36 points this week, and your total is now 260. Alex, you stayed in 13th, 4 points this week, and now have 87. I stayed in 14th this week. I got 12 points, and I have a total of 82. The highest score in Division 1 was by Pee Wee with 130. The highest score in Division 2 and overall, and congratulations to him, was Homer, who had got 219 points and takes them to third place with 277 total. Plats this week, Garrett got it in MXGP3. I think that's a motocross game, right? Yes. No confirmation from anyway, so I'm assuming. Sabres in the chat says, it's Brittany, bitch. Nightmare got a platinum in My Friend Peppa Pig. Wow, Gareth, we're giving out spam plats now. Shout outs. Wow. That one, Seagull got one in Metaphor Re Phantasmo and Back to the Future game. Rick got one in Shadow of Mordor. CJ got it in Dragon Age Velguard. I can't say that name. Psychiatrist, I guess, got it in Geometric Sniper. Rolf Lowe's got it in Totally Reliable Delivery Service. The Big Don got it in We Are Here. Yield, you're a fan of those games, right?
Yeah, they're very good.
And the top in each league right now is Rick in Division 1 and CJ in Division 2.
Good old CJ. Miss CJ. That it?
That's it.
All right. Let's move on to what we've been playing. Yield, you're up.
It's been a relatively light week as game wise. Played some Star Wars Battlefront 2 with Nitro on Wednesday for triple XP, and I should knock that out Wednesday. should get my last 3 levels and have the platinum for that next week. The majority of my gaming has been Red Faction Guerrilla on the PlayStation 3. I'm in a boosting group, and we are working through the 250 games and 250 wins. That's kind of like phase 1 of the boosting, and then you can break down into like some 1v1 or 1v2s, and then work on your experience and your kills, total kills, kills per weapon, kills per backpack, blah, 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 blah. So, but working on the wins right now, I also have to work, I was working back through single player, which what I just rolled credits on the single player before I came up here. And the whole time I'm playing that game, I'm like, man, this voice, why does this voice sound so familiar to me? Credits roll, and I figured out why. Troy Baker was the lead in Red Faction Guerrilla. So that would be why. I'm like, man, this voice, I know this. I couldn't place it. So
I'm still convinced that Troy Baker plays the character in The Division, but when you look up the IMDb, there's no actor listed for that role. I swear he's Aaron Keener, but if you look up Aaron Keener on IMDb, it doesn't show you his name at all.
So now that I've rolled credits, the next time I play multiplayer with somebody in the boosting group, because I know somebody in the boosting group has already beat the game, I can get that trophy out of the way. And then when I get done here recording, I'm going to go back downstairs and hopefully finish out my beat the pro times on transportation. And then fingers crossed, I will be able to get all the guerrilla actions. I think I missed a few, but some of them popped back up after I rolled credits. So fingers crossed I didn't miss any, and I get that trophy. I don't have to play the game again. That's it. Just 2 games this week.
Matt, if you're talking, you're muted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Looks like I'm being told Mr. Joe Priestley is in the chat and he can't speak. So
yes,
you can
he's
check on that for me.
No, he's blocked for good reason.
Could you please unblock Mr. Joe?
No, not until he apologizes.
Jesus Christ, Tricky.
For
Just
what?
unblock the man.
Not until he apologizes.
Unblock him.
For saying the Rangers suck?
On a non-Rangers post.
Oh, okay. Well, guess what?
Here's a non-Rangers post. Fuck the Rangers. Unblock the man.
Well, now you're blocked in the chat.
The Grinelli chat or the Grinelli takeover has overseen the chat, and he's saying unblock the man.
Okay, for the record, he is not blocked. I don't know why he can't talk. I was fucking around. Is he really in the chat?
I don't know at this point. I don't see him. I didn't know if you saw something on your end. Anyways, this is boring. Alex, what have you been playing, sir?
So I have been sorry, Ashley's texting me. Mostly Assassin's Creed. I mean, I really didn't play any Helldivers this week, didn't even do any of the challenges in Rocket League yet. So mostly in Assassin's Creed. And all I've really been doing is going around to the islands in different areas and just opening up fast travel, doing a lot of collectibles. Really haven't pushed the story forward all that much. But luckily, I'm pretty much got almost all the collectibles, most of them. So now I can just fast travel to lots of the areas of the map or any area of the map whenever I need to. Don't need to sail there. Still need to do work on upgrading my ship, take down a few enemy ships or more of the British ships, I guess. And I'm really not even I'm so early in the story that I'm not even to the point where I become a Templar. So, yeah, I'm still in the second memory sequence, and I think there's a 6 total. So really, I put a bunch of hours in this game. It's really been all just collectible hunting, which is, again, why I think these games need to be cut back, because there's too many collectibles. I like the fact that there are sea shanties in the game, so when you're sailing, your crew will sing a sea shanty like Drunken Sailor or something like that, or Leave Her Johnny. But you have to go you have to collect those sheets of paper on an island, and they're like mystical, magical, and they fucking run away from you. So
aren't those annoying?
you're hopping from rooftop to rooftop, in trees sometimes. And the platforming is fine. Like, I like the free running of Assassin's Creed. It makes you feel like very skilled and super agile. But a lot of times, like because so much of the environment is interactable, if that's even a word, you get stuck doing a lot of stuff. You'll climb like a tree when you're not intending to, or you'll jump off of something. Yep. So the platforming can get a little aggravating because something happens that you don't intend to happen, if that makes any sense. But I really just wish, like with the sea shanties, they would have just made this available. Like, hey, it's like the radio in GTA. You don't have to unlock the radio in GTA; it's just there. So just let all your crewmen, sing the sea shanties and just randomly, shuffle through them. You don't need to make them a collectible. But yeah, this game has way too many collectibles. It's just, again, classic Assassin's Creed Ubisoft padding. If they focus more on the story and just making a really good story with the gameplay they have, because assassinating people is fun, in the games, I should say that very clearly, in the games, running on rooftops, sneaking around, using your hidden blades, all that's fun. But they throw so many side things at you that aren't meaningful at all. They're stupid. They're not fun. You're just doing it to do it, run through the motions. So again, like I've said, I think I'm done with Assassin's Creed after this. Like, I've come back to the games, and my gripes with the games are the same every time, and they're clearly not changing them. It's clearly just like, we want you to play this game for 60 hours, but really only 20 hours of the stuff you want to do. And the rest of it, you're just going to be going through the motions. So I will say, Tricky.
Sorry to jump in, but the first Assassin's Creed, when they had you collecting feathers, I was like, this is the stupidest shit ever. I know, and even then back then, I know it was for an achievement, but it was like, all right, if they don't do anything for me, I'm not focusing on them. But Redbeard asked specifically for you, Alex, did you hear the sea shanty in the Dead Space remake?
Yes, I did. Trying to think now. So I mean, I do like the collectibles make sense, but there's too many. I mean, you could easily cut a lot of them. Like, there's like cave paintings, which, I mean, you're around like the French and Indian War. So I guess, like, with the indigenous people who lived in the area, New York and around the North Atlantic, like, it makes sense. But at the same time, like, a lot of this stuff could just be cut. You don't need all of it. You've got to find these Templar maps, and then all these Templar maps, then you go to specific coordinates on the maps to find a piece of armor so that you can get Templar armor. I don't know. That's a little bit more fun because there is, like, actually a game to it of getting to getting the map, then finding the coordinates and digging it up. I mean, there's a little more to that, but they could definitely cut down on the collectibles in Assassin's Creed. I will say that I enjoyed going to Sleepy Hollow today, because that is a location in the game. And, like, they've got the covered bridge, like the famous covered bridge you see at Sleepy Hollow, and they've got pumpkins around and scarecrows with, like, jack-o'-lanterns on their heads. So I think that's a nice little touch. I like going to Sleepy Hollow. So there are a few locations in the game that I like going to that are a little bit more unique. But overall, like, a lot of the places in Assassin's Creed Rogue feel very much the same. A lot of it's in the wilderness. A lot of it's just like you running around, having trouble trying to like navigate the map. Whereas a lot of times in Assassin's Creed, you're in a city, and it's not really that hard to navigate the map. But here you're in the woods, climbing trees, going in and out of caves. It's just not nearly as fun as just being in Egypt or Venice or Athens, like in a lot of the other places. So overall, I mean, like, gameplay core is fun. That's never been a problem with Assassin's Creed. It's just they've always tried to bloat the games. And yeah, I do want to end on a positive, because as far as the story goes, I'm not too far into it. But if they're going to turn your character to the other side, the one way they do it is that, then you'll see this early on, so I'm not really spoiling anything, but you'll notice that the assassinations you have to do as part of the story are these old, sickly men. In the first case of, like, I think, I can't remember his name, Lawrence Washington, they make a point of pointing out he's sick and he's going to die soon anyway. But yet the assassins still want you to assassinate him because he's a Templar and supposedly dangerous. So the way they turn you is kind of like you're questioning the assassin's method, because the people you're assassinating are just weak and not, like, they're not a challenge for you. They can't fight back. So in that interest, the story is very it's what I don't want to just say interesting, but I like the turn the story's taking, because generally you are told to assassinate somebody, you go assassinate them, and you get a pat on the back. This time it's like that who the people you're assassinating, and the game points out to you, and Shuhei the character comments like, "Man, well, this person really wasn't a challenge. This person really didn't seem that dangerous." They're planting the seeds of a turn. Now, this is the only time in history I know that you turn into a Templar, and again, there are issues with that with the gameplay and stuff. But I mean, they're at least trying something new with the story, and I'll just have to see how it goes. But gameplay wise, I just wish that they had cut back on a lot of the optional stuff to do. That's my thing. So. And
meanwhile, Saber's in chat and says to remember that was, I think he's referring to Black Flag, saying that it was the last PS3 Assassin's Creed. All the other ones were PS4, and they're working very hard on texting the one in France. I don't know what you mean there, Saber. You might have to elaborate.
Well, the one in France was Unity.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Rogue was the last. I don't know where this conversation's going. I'm sorry, Alex. Is that all you've been playing?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much just collectible hunting in Assassin's Creed Rogue. Pulling my hair out, being like, man, I gotta do this to myself again. And you know what? Tales of Iron 2 came out. Tales of Iron 2 is out, and I'm sitting here collecting sea shanties in like fucking Assassin's Creed. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah,
playing a good video game.
No, if I was playing a good video game, I'd go play Tales of Iron 2. Not this bloated fucking parade float of a video game. Sorry, fuck Assassin's Creed. I'm so over Ubisoft. No wonder this company gets so much hate. Bullshit.
Oh. All right, Tricky.
I'm sorry. I'm just flabbergasted with the blasphemy that's coming out of Alex's mouth.
Are you saying, like, do you?
He goes to the Royal Rumble and thinks he was in the Rumble, now wants to rumble with everybody.
Can you honestly tell me that you think the Assassin's Creed series is in a good spot right now?
With the last 3 games, yes, absolutely. You can't make a judgment on Shadows until it comes out, and there have been reports that Shadows is actually pretty damn good.
Well, we won't know about that until a little bit over a month and a half. And welcome to Ray in the chat, who agrees with Alex by saying F Ubisoft.
Well, there you F you, Ray.
I know when Ray is on my side, I'm in the right.
Don't be besmirching Ray.
Hey, if Ray's going to F Ubisoft, I'm going to F Ray.
What are you part? Do you own a stake in Ubisoft? What are you part of the group? Are you an employee?
He's an Yves Guillemot.
Yeah, are you tight with Yves Guillemot?
Listen, in all honesty, okay, I personally would not say that Ubisoft is my favorite developer. But there's no doubt that I play a shitload of their games. Between Division, between Uno, The Crew, Assassin's Creed, Immortals Phoenix Rising, they put out a lot of games that I play.
Well, we all know that Sony is your favorite developer.
No. Well,
then who is?
Sony is my favorite publisher, but I would say that. See, it's a toss-up now, because years ago I would say it was Naughty Dog.
They're a part of Sony.
Yes, but I'm talking about independent, actual developer studios. I would say it was Naughty Dog, but now I think I'd kind of lean more to Insomniac.
Okay, but then you can't take Ubisoft as a whole either. You have to cut it down to who is your favorite developer within Ubisoft. And I guarantee it's Massive, because Massive makes The Division.
Ray brings up a very good point. He says they buried Prince of Persia and pumped up Xbox 360 graphics Star Wars Outlaws.
I disagree with that, Ray. Star Wars Outlaws was actually, it looked pretty good, and it was. I know it didn't sell as well as it should have, but it was. I think it was a quality game. And Yield, I think you would actually agree with me that Outlaws was a decent game.
Yeah, Outlaws was fun.
So real quick, going back to Assassin's Creed, because I don't want to just leave it at that. I think that, again, part of the problem is that I'm playing a game from 2014, right around the time, like I said last week, when Assassin's Creed was getting old and tired, and they made the shift to Origins after Syndicate and Unity,
which I think was a bad shift.
The problem is now they've shifted away from Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla back to Mirage. So they've gone back to the beginning, gone back to the roots, shifting away from what they did there with those 3 games, and now they're going to Shadows. And so they just keep trying to they're just trying to figure out what is the best way to present this series, other than what they probably should do, which is let it die.
I thought, because they did the Assassin's Creed 15th anniversary celebration, a year or two ago? I thought they were going to do like 1-in-1, like the Odyssey style, and then Rogue style. But I'm more curious because we haven't heard anything since. What's going on with their Animus hub? Because that was supposed to start leaking all the games together, and we haven't heard jack shit about that.
Well, there's probably a reason for that. Like, well, either it's gone deep underground, they don't want to talk about it until they have a more finished product, but also, again, they're catching a lot of shit for Shadows. Whether it's good for the right reasons, for the bad reasons, whether they deserve it or not, that's up for debate. But they're catching a lot of shit for this game.
Jurassic Parky, I wouldn't say that too loud. Alex might go another 5-minute speech about it.
Syndicate's one of my favorites. It wasn't too bloated with collectibles and set in London.
It was absolutely bloated. But if you like Jurassic Park, I understand. Like, I'm not going to ask you to defend it. If you like Syndicate, that's totally fine. And that's not just Assassin. I thought Origins was bloated with collectibles. I think that's a bloated game. I like the setting. Okay, so here's when Assassin's Creed's been its best. The DLCs for Origins are spot on the best Assassin's Creed has ever been.
Oh my God!
What?
The bullshit that comes out of your mouth, man.
Are you serious?
That was the worst DLCs.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Wow, okay.
The best DLC was done, in my opinion, was the DLC for 3. The Tyranny of George Washington.
Okay, well, I never played it, but...
Yeah.
No, The Curse of the Pharaohs is the best segment of Assassin's Creed ever made. But...
God help me, Parky. Please help me, Parky.
No.
Dad, I'm sorry.
But no, I mean, I think that the Assassin's Creed games as a whole is you could cut a lot of fat off those games and make them better. A better experience for the players. And that's always going to be my thing. I felt that way every Assassin's Creed game I've ever played. Whether I enjoyed it, whether I thought it was bleh. Origins, I liked Origins a lot, but there was a ton of fucking space, and in some of those areas of the map, you did one thing. There was one thing for you to do. Completely pointless to have that on the map.
Jurassic Parky says he's going for the Valhalla's plat, and that's when he started questioning his life.
Oh, God. Well, Godspeed, Parky, because Nitro has told me how much it takes to platinum that game, and if you're willing to put your back into it and get it, props to you for being able to being that committed, but I can't put that much time into a game anymore. So, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if they eventually went back down and brought out Mirage, is that him admitting that Valhalla was a failure in some way?
I'm sorry.
Because if
again.
So if they go from Valhalla to Mirage, and Mirage is a direct redirect or a redirect from Valhalla, is that them admitting that taking it to Valhalla was the wrong path? It was too much?
No, I think.
Because if Valhalla was ultimately successful, why wouldn't you just do that again?
Because they were going back to the roots of their game.
But yes, cutting it down severely and getting away from what they did with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. So if you change it like that, see, what we've learned about video games and these publishers is when something works, they keep fucking doing it. If Valhalla had really worked, and I'm not saying it wasn't successful in some regards, but if it had really been just this mega super successful game, they would have put out another one in a different era like that. But they went to Mirage because they recognized that Valhalla wasn't the way forward.
Well, they already did 3 games like that. I mean, how many more games do you want them to do like that?
If it's successful, they'll do as many as they can, right?
Well, I mean, you could argue and say the other ones were successful and they made changes.
All right, what can we do to wrap up the Assassin's Creed chat? Because we've been going on this for about
just to have Alex admit he's wrong.
No,
he doesn't know anything
wrong
about Assassin's Creed, and he's only playing it because he got bored.
So I think that when you have a series that's actually successful, and you then change it up drastically, that is an admission on your part that that the whinge needs to change, that what you're doing currently doesn't work anymore.
All right. Jurassic Park, he says they probably cut it back due to production costs as they were always rising. That's possibly.
Right. We are going to cut the Assassin's Creed chat at that point. So, Tricky, you could tell us what you've been playing. Hopefully, nothing Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, Tricky, you want to go? You want to go over round 2?
I've been playing all the Assassin's Creeds because they're all fantastic. No.
Yeah, let me go to Metacritic, or I'll check that for you.
I've been playing Division. Got some heartbreaking news this week. I didn't bother sharing it with the group because I know it would bore you guys, but apparently the DLC got delayed. It was supposed to come out in a month, and now it's there's no new release date, and they said they're just polishing it. It's still coming, but it's being delayed, so that breaks my heart a little bit. Jurassic Park, he says, if Shadows doesn't sell well, Ubisoft are fucked. I don't think so. I think they'll be all right.
I believe so.
I think they'll be all right.
We're not covering it this week, but they just announced laying off the studio 185 people.
Been playing some Poker Club. I've been actually be able to get into some games. I played quite a bit today. Today was actually the first time all week that I was able to play some video games, so got into that. I popped 4 trophies in that today, which I was impressed with. And that's it. I mean, I really haven't been able to game all week.
Okay. And I myself have played a bunch of different things this week. I put a lot of time back into Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. I just felt like getting back into some epic adventuring, and not planning on getting my ass kicked by a couple different bosses, but that's the way that game goes. There's 2 bosses right now that I'm having a lot of difficulty with, so now I got to go back out into the world and find the Skidoo tree fragments that will bolster my defense and offense. So I'll be doing some more adventuring in that. I tried putting more time into Star Wars Outlaws, but evidently there was a bad update, and for some reason when I go to load into areas, just randomly the game crashes. So
console.
Yeah, if I wanted to play a shittier version, I'd play it on the console.
But it may be a shittier version, but at least that version works.
Mine works, just sometimes it crashes. That happens. Happens with consoles too, Tricky, believe it or not.
You can make the argument if Ubisoft would have ported their game correctly, it wouldn't crash.
Yeah. Let's blame Ubisoft on that one. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Oh, not blaming PC. Let's blame Ubisoft.
Yeah. It's shitty port work. Listen, the launch of Spider-Man 2 on the PC has been not very well received. And
really?
That's because
I haven't heard anything. I'm not denying. I haven't heard anything about it.
High requirements for on PC, which makes no sense, as well as multiple slowdowns, frame drops, crashing, which is weird. They've usually the team that ported Spider-Man 2 usually, I think it was Nixus, usually does pretty good ports, but nope. Showing mixed on Steam because evidently a lot of people are running into problems. And again, higher than what you'd expect system requirements for a game that was put out on the PS5.
And I know you didn't put it in the agenda, but do you want to talk quickly about how Sony's changing their policy on PC games?
Oh, I did forget that. Yeah, we'll cover that on right after the first one. We'll talk about that real briefly.
Okay.
Also put in time into the Stanley Parable because that game is just pure fun and it is.
It is, isn't it?
It is. I was told to stop a baby from crawling into a fire, and I did nothing, and I enjoyed it.
Wow.
So Matt enjoys fire so much that he wanted the baby to enjoy the fire too.
Yes.
Well, it's warm.
The narrator called me a monster. I disagree. It's just, that's a game that I could just pick up and play randomly because I don't remember anything I did from the last time I played it, and just have a good time just cracking smiles and laughing at some of the silliness in that game. Let's see what else. Put more time into. I went back and I started playing Pokemon Legends Arceus again, just adventuring around, trying to complete the Pokedex. There's just something therapeutic about that game, just adventuring away. And also some more time into Monster Hunter World, just going on SOS missions because I cannot wait until Wilds later this month. I hope you're all prepared that when we get to February 28th, the only game I'll be playing every week is Monster Hunter. So, sorry, listeners.
As long as you tell me all the cool names of all the cool monsters.
I will indeed do that. Another game called Karmazoo, where you and up to like 8 of your friends go in. It's kind of like a roguelike mission where you can choose different, we'll call them totems. It could be an animal, it could be an object, and each animal or object has its own special power. And your goal is you have to stick close to your friends. If you are ever separated from your friends by a certain distance for long, you can end up dying. But together, it's literally together you're stronger, and you complete the puzzles to complete the levels. It's like a little 8-bit-ish retro type game, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely recommend it. But what I really wanted to talk about, Alex, was Amenti.
Yeah.
Now,
Get down on it.
Know
Get
nothing
down on it.
about Egyptian history other than, hey, look, the pyramids. And this was, I had a friend across the street growing up. Him and his family would go to Egypt every year. So you think I'd ask more questions, but no. I go back and say, this game is beautiful. What they did in Unreal Engine 5 for whatever small team they had, I could see them doing something big if they got some actual money behind them.
Let's make that happen.
I think this won't be their last game in this setting based off the way it ended. I don't know. You didn't play it, Alex, or did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. I don't want to get into too much spoiler territory, but it is a horror game. So there's scary elements to it. A lot of them are jump scares. There are some unsettling moments. It's mainly a puzzler. So there's no combat in the game, and you progress by taking pictures. So you're a journalist and you go in to one of the Great Pyramids, and I think it's Pharaoh Radamon, something like that, and his queen, and you have to figure out what's going on. There's darkness, you get flashlights, you have to use your camera to take photos of very specific things to progress the game. As weird as it sounds, there's only 5 achievements, and I missed one of them. So I'm one short of a perfect game. And I will say, for the $7 I spent, I literally was in it maybe 2 hours. So it was just short enough that I felt, okay, I'm good. It didn't outstay its welcome. Definitely scary at times, definitely very atmospheric. And there's times that the scares are a little silly, I'll say. But in the grand scheme of things, it did what it needed to do, and I had a good time. Saber, some people may $7 is too much for such a short game. I say it's the experience. Did I have a good time playing it? Yeah.
Well, also, you got to think about what went into making the game and visually how impressive it is. That also, it's a lot different than like if your characters are like 8-bit. I'm not knocking 8-bit games or anything like that, old school games that have that visual style. But for what this game was, the engine and how much time it took to recreate this space, that takes money, and you've got to factor that in. It's not just the length of the game and what you're doing, it's the visual style as well.
And I can tell you, what they did in Unreal 5, it kind of goes back to the other game that I'm playing, Chucksy, where like they use Unreal 5, and Unreal 5 can do great things if the person knows what they're doing. There's lifelike capabilities in Unreal 5 that really, when used in a horror setting, can be really unsettling. But the game, there's a researcher that you're finding his notes, and he's kind of explaining the scariness of it. And how he got locked in there. And, the ending, there was a point I was like, all right, I'm able to predict the ending. I know what's going on. But it was a nice little adventure. I'm glad to have completed it. Probably won't be going back to get the one achievement. And, I appreciate, thank you, Alex, for giving me that recommendation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have a PC. Well, I don't really play a lot of PC games, and I don't even know if Ashley's old PC that she has upstairs that I used to record on could even run it.
Nope.
But, I just wanted to at least get someone's opinion on it because, again, the setting, and I mean, the same setting as like Origins. Like, I'm enthralled by the setting of ancient Egypt, the culture. Like, I just love it. So anything set in that time period is really something that, especially a novel concept like going into the pyramids by yourself at dark, and just it's a very different isolation. I brought it up before, but Dead Space, yes, you are alone in largely alone in a space station, except for you and monsters that are trying to kill you. But you go into big open rooms. It's not all claustrophobic. This is all very claustrophobic. You're down underground, dark tunnels. It's just kind of, it's just a very different atmosphere, and just the way that it's just like, considering that how long people have been going down into Egyptian tombs and how long we've had first-person horror games, the fact that this is just now coming out in 2025 kind of boggles my mind. Or when it came out, if it came out last year or this year, but the fact that this is the first time anyone's thought of this, I don't know, it's kind of crazy.
As I'm playing it, there was a certain level of, I know, trying not to spoil it, but from a combat perspective, and I'm using air quotes, what happened, I expected to happen. So it was definitely more the jump scares that got me as far as the setting. But when you're, wandering around various, corridors that the things that happen, I expected to happen, but they still got me in certain aspects. So even though I was expecting it, it was still terrifying in certain situations. And so I definitely enjoyed it.
And like the dark and silence and being alone, that can do a lot to create fear. Like there may be nothing with you in the room. There be maybe no reason to have no immediate danger, but just that combination of things, and you potentially being trapped underground, hearing about this previous person who said, hey, this is how I got trapped in here, terrifying. It creates terror without actually anything coming after you.
And there's times that I'm sitting there walking around and I hear footsteps and I have to stop. I'm like, something following me?
Yeah, you don't have an Uzi or a shotgun, I assume. You just have a camera, so.
That's it. And, likening it to games like Amnesia, where I don't know if something's going to come after me and I have to hide to get away from it, or if I'm just an observer and it's just a creepy setting. Like there's all sorts of things going into that make it unsettling. And then there's a little bit, I say this without spoiling, is there's a little bit of supernatural aspect to it that makes it even more so curious as to what's going on and scary. So that is all I've been playing. Again, thank you, Alex, for that recommendation. I will definitely.
Thank you, Matt, for playing it.
I might be able to put up some video and share it just so that way you can see it. But
I do enjoy living vicariously through others.
See, and only on PC do you get this kind of experience.
PC Master Race.
PC Master Race.
When the PC works.
It's not the PC that fails. It's the owner or the software.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, on to the news.
Nick, when Tricky and I are in arguments, I want all the PC players to remember I'm standing up for PC and Tricky's down playing it, standing up for Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft. Just remember who's in the right in this.
Yeah, I am.
Tricky's just upset because his personal PC is on its last legs.
Hey, don't say that. It can hear you. It's right here.
Is that his water one that doesn't really do water very well?
Oh, it does water well enough. I don't do water. I don't do any water cooling or liquid cooling.
I will say me and Matt have had a couple discussions in the last couple days to get me a new PC.
Well, if you stop buying PlayStations, you could sure afford one.
Oh, it's going to be a little pricey because Matt, I'll just let you know, and this is not going to make any sense to any of our listeners, but the parts list that you put up, it's gone up about $700 already.
Interesting. Okay.
Matt, let me ask you this: Is it really necessary to have a cooling system for these PCs? Because don't you just need to ventilate them, like have a well ventilated area where they can like spit out hot air? Like, do you really need?
Yes and no. So where water cooling really has its benefits is when you start to overclock your components. So not necessarily just your PC, but your CPU, but your CPU, your RAM, your graphics card, all of those things can be overclocked. And having a good water cooling system will dissipate heat from your components much faster than air ever could. And one thing a lot of people don't count on when they're building their PC or when they're even buying a pre-built PC is accounting for the pressure in your system. How many fans do you have pulling in? How many fans do you have pushing out? Where are your components located? Is the power supply located in the lower chamber or the upper chamber? As you know, heat rises. Is there positive pressure? Is there negative pressure? There's all sorts of factors that go into what makes a PC heat efficient. So yes, if you properly liquid cool your system, it's going to run for longer periods of lifetime because it's not going to be heat is the ultimate enemy of PC components. And if you water cool things right and you're not pushing the envelope all the time, your components are going to last much longer than any other part. I just had an issue where V's old graphics card is running into an issue. And when I pulled it apart, all of the thermal paste was crusted over, the pads were worn out. I tried replacing it all, and unfortunately it didn't. I'm probably just going to end up putting it on eBay for parts because that's now beyond my capabilities of fixing the thing. So yeah, if you can cool your PC efficiently, you could do it. But liquid cooling also comes with a lot more maintenance than just regular air cooling. So,
Tricky, what the hell are you doing to overclock your PC? You just record and edit on it, and you don't really play games on it.
I don't overclock it.
He bought it that way. Listen, a number of years ago, you couldn't buy a pre-built without it being liquid cooled because everybody was putting it in there. It's just the way he bought it. And when him and I were talking about building his new unit, he's not going to go liquid cooled. He's taking my recommendation of just staying with air cooled. Much easier on the maintenance, and he's not going to overclock anything.
And Matt is against putting RGB in it.
On principles, I'm against RGB. However, for Tricky, I will buy RGB fans if he wants.
I like when things blink and show different colors. Even though, ironically, I can't see the colors.
He likes the lights. But Redbeard Rick, RGB is the stupidest thing. See, Rick, I agree, 100%. We are going to move on to the news and going back into the comment Tricky said earlier. For those of you who may not have seen, I didn't include it as an official topic, but just briefly, Sony is easing up on its requirements for PSN accounts on certain games, so mostly single player. They are now trying to entice people to sign up for an account by saying, listen, you'll get things like trophies. We'll give you in-game costumes for Spider-Man if you sign up. So they're starting to move to that aspect as opposed to forcing it, which is what they should have done all along. Listen,
yes.
Multiplayer games, I get it if they use the Sony servers. But when you do something like Helldivers and it doesn't require you to connect to Sony servers ever because it's going through Steam, maybe don't do that. Anyways, it's just something that the team brought up that came out on the news recently that I felt was valid to bring up. Meanwhile, there's things going on.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yep. And from what I heard is that is allowing some people in those banned regions to be able to buy some of these games again.
Good.
So the real first article I want to talk about, as we do normally on the first Sunday recording of every month, PlayStation Plus monthly games for February, coming from the PS blog and Adam Michel. Payday 3, High on Life, Pac-Man World Repack, and that's starting in January 2026. The amount of PS4 games on the monthly plan will actually kind of be eliminated, but not totally. So what Sony said is, listen, most people are on PS5 games, redeeming PS5 games. So as of January 2026, with the occasional PS4 games will kind of no longer be on the PlayStation Plus service as part of the monthly package. And I think that's just at the entry level, because they're still going to be offering games at the extra and premium levels. But
yeah, this is just the free games they give us every month.
Yeah.
And I've seen a little bit of an outcry on this. I'm actually totally fine with this.
They've been doing this for a while. That's just what they do.
They did the same thing. They did the same thing with the 3 to the 4
and the Vita.
And the Vita. So I mean, it's disappointing if you haven't gotten a 5 yet. I mean, if I hadn't gotten a 5 yet, I would be disappointed. 5 years though, Yield. No, that's still that's a crappy way to look at it.
It's been 5 years. If you haven't upgraded by now, you think you're gonna,
But you might be a late adapter. Not everybody goes out and buys one in the first year. So anyway, like I was saying, it's a bummer. But if you've been in this ecosystem long enough, once the new system launches, it's only a matter of time before they don't support with the free games for the last generation. It's coming. So you're on borrowed time.
Pause 1 second. Jurassic Park, you said there was a Rangers goal. Yes. Did you guys not hear the horn?
We did.
I did. I just wasn't acknowledging it.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because I put it in an entirely different room because I know it annoys some of you guys. I heard it. I just didn't know if you guys heard it.
Yes.
I heard it.
Okay.
I actually have a question.
I have an answer.
Doesn't it? Well, we'll see about that, Yield. Okay. Doesn't it behoove Sony to keep giving away free PlayStation 4 games?
No.
Because I'm assuming they're still going to give out the same amount of games, but now you have to give away PlayStation 5 games. So if you had to give away, I don't know, you're still giving away games. So if you gave away more PS4 games, you're not giving away newer games? Isn't that better for Sony?
I would say yes, it would be. I guess it depends on what games you're giving away, because so let's say you give away a multi-console game or a multi-platform game, sorry. Use the correct terminology, Yield. If you give away a multi-platform game or generation, then I don't see a problem with giving the 4 version and the 5 version. If you're just releasing 5 games, obviously you can't, you can't give them a 4 game. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. If they release a multi-generational game or multi-platform game, then are you going to just offer the 5 only? Or is that their caveat to, well, we're not completely doing away with it. There may be a 4 game here or there, and that's what they mean by it. I don't know.
Sony's...
I was going to say, I think, okay, I know this is gonna come out a little bit elitist, and that's not the way I mean this. But as I said, it's been 5 years. It's time for people to upgrade, and I think this is Sony's way of saying, hey, if you want all the free games, you're going to have to upgrade. And this is Sony's subtle way of saying it's time to upgrade. So yeah, does it? I think it does push to Sony's benefit to say, okay, we're no longer offering these games. We're going to start only offering 5 games, and maybe that signifies to some people saying, okay, well, it's been 5 years. It's time for me to upgrade and maybe buy the PlayStation 5 Pro, which, some people have. So I at some point you have to stop developing for the lowest common denominator. And I've said this on the show many, many times, and the fact that I firmly believe that we don't get the full potential of 5 games when they're multi-generational, because they're always going to develop for the lowest common denominator, in this case, the PlayStation 4, and the 5 game can't come out to the best. I mean, look at the outcry of DLC for the Forbidden West. A lot of people were upset because they couldn't get that DLC on the 4 version, but they got it on the 5 version. You have to start developing for the newer console.
Okay, let me tell you something. For those of you who are out crying, you're not missing anything.
Well, Tricky, your argument makes no sense. We're not talking about developing games. We're just giving away free games that already exist.
Rick is in chat saying that they're going to run out of PS5 games to give away, though. And I'll add this to the addendum. Yield. All this is telling me is that they ran out of high-quality PS4 games.
There you go.
Here we go.
But
we have now come full circle, folks.
But also Sony's argument that most people are downloading on the PS5 or whatever, like the usage of the PS5 has gone up so much that they don't have to worry about providing PS4 games. You can play almost every PS4 game digitally on the PlayStation 5. So if you still gave away PS4 games, PlayStation 5 owners would still be able to play them. It makes no sense. Right? Am I interpreting that wrong?
I think, well, Tricky, I'll let you collect your thoughts. I think part of the issue, again, could be it may not be worth their time to invest in licensing agreements to get PS4 games on the service that they haven't already put out there. Now, why can't they circle back and put games that have been on there before? Well, now you're going to have people saying, oh, now you're just repeating shit. But frankly, that may give people who didn't have the opportunity to grab the game on the first run because they didn't have PS Plus at the time, access to get those games now. Just a thought, Sony.
In answer to what you're saying, Alex, I know what I'm saying is sounding very elitist, but my thought is if they no longer have to provide games or no longer have to develop PS4 games, they can solely concentrate.
We're not talking about developing games. We're not talking about developing games at all.
Let me finish my points.
And then don't come out with a. Okay. Go ahead.
If they don't have to develop 4 games anymore and they can solely do the 5, then they don't have to worry about every month coming out with a 4 game to give away. They're trying. I think Sony is actively trying to move away from the 4 onto the 5's generation. And by getting rid of the games that they're releasing on Plus, they no longer have to provide games on Plus for the 4.
But it wasn't just their own games that they were delivering on the PS Plus service. It was other developers' games as well.
And now those developers don't no longer have to make a 4 game.
Well, now, see, I see where you're trying to go, Tricky, but the issue here is it's not about developing for the 4. It's about stopping a service for a console that they no longer want to support to a level.
Alex is losing his mind right now.
All right.
Because Tricky's argument is fucking insane.
All right. Well, then,
no,
Alex, you're not going to be able to fight back against Tricky's logic.
Let me just
question mark.
Just move on, because Alex is going to go back and forth.
As the Grinelli takeovers in effect, Alex, say your piece, and then we're moving on.
It's not about no one's developing games, PS4 games specifically for PlayStation Plus. There's just a giant catalog of PS4 games they're pulling from. They're not they're not developing new games for the PS4 for PlayStation Plus. They just have a catalog they can pull from to give you for PlayStation Plus. Oh my God, Tricky.
That's not what I said. But go ahead, move on.
Anyway, cutting it off with Redbeard Rick says it's the same thing that they did with 3 games 5 years after the 4 came out. They'll do it again in 2032 and stop bringing 5 games to the service. Good, done. And with the next article, PlayStation 5 and PlayStation and Sony in all their magnanimity, coming from Noisy Pixel and Orpheus Joshua, as of February 1st, by the time you all are listening to this, the classic themes will have left Sony's system. You know, those fancy boot up screens for the 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think mostly 1, 2, and 3. I don't think there was anything on the 4.
There was.
Okay, well, nobody cared. And what happens is Sony heard the positive feedback, and they are working to bring those classic themes back at some point, though no further information is available on that.
What?
And there are no current plans to create additional themes. So they gave you a taste. Everybody liked it, said, please don't leave, Sony. They pulled it anyways and says, we're going to give it to you again at some point.
Hey, I got an idea. Put them on the store as free downloads. Done.
Well, okay. First, I'm going to say this. Nobody tell Sony, but mine still has the 30th anniversary themes on it. I don't know why, but I still have them. Second, I like Sean Scott's comment when I posted this in the Facebook group. What do they have to do behind the scenes? They clearly have the capability of themes. Just add it, add more, and leave it. I can't fucking disagree with that. There was no reason to take them away.
No, there was not. I mean,
I think they're going to sell them.
What?
You think Sony isn't going to capitalize on this in some way?
I think they're going to sell themes. I don't think they're going to sell these.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yield.
Rick says he agrees with you. $250 each.
Yep.
I agree with Matt in that they'll pull them away and then be like, you can purchase them.
You think they're going to sell these themes though? That's the
yes. That it'll be a group of themes, and these will be the ones that you can buy. I am disappointed that I'd like the startup screen. I think that maybe it should be like a rotating thing where you get a different boot up screen every time you boot up. I think that would be kind of neat since we're on the 5th generation of Sony consoles.
So if I can cut in real quick,
go ahead.
Literally can do that with my Steam Deck, where I use points from the Steam store to buy opening themes. These are not points I have to buy from the Steam store. If I buy a game on Steam, I get points. I use those points in the Steam Point Store to buy opening themes. What's more, I can even go download custom themes people have made and put it on there. 1 point PC, 0 points console. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly.
Oh shit.
While the themes, and I'm using air quotes here because these weren't really themes, they were more like headers. They're neat, but unless you're really going to do themes, then don't do it.
Okay.
They had the power to leave things as they were. If you want to take away the startup screen, that's fine. You could have left us with the option to do the backgrounds.
Nope, there's no money in that.
Curtis did make another comment. Goes, she says, I hope they leave the classic PlayStation startup 2. That's been refreshing every time I turn on my PS5. Yes.
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed that.
But I do think that will get tiresome after a while.
I don't know. I still like the OG PlayStation coming on when I turn on my 5.
Now, I will say I very rarely see that, but I know that I'm unique in that because I have my TV set up that when I turn my PlayStation 5 on, it automatically turns my TV on and it goes to that input. So by the time the TV comes on and switches over to the input, I'm already way past that and I'm on the home screen. So I never really saw that.
Well, I would say for the most part, I always would turn my system on, and then by the time I have my TV on or switch to inputs, yeah, the same thing, tricky. But once we got, this startup, I made sure to have my TV turned over so I could enjoy it because
I get it
because I knew they were going to take it away. So I'm like, well, I might as well enjoy it because I'm just going to miss it, and I've enjoyed it.
You know what theme I would really like them to open up on my PlayStation?
What's that?
Sega. Imagine that starting up when you turn your PlayStation on.
That would be a nice little nod.
You know, it'd be hilarious if they ever bought Sega. If they did that, like that was the way they announced it. Is they did like the Sega startup screen or something like that. Like, what the fuck?
You should do that and then just have the PlayStation in the Sega letters.
Rick says his Mega Drive does that. Yes, Rick. I would expect yours to do that. It's like encountering a shark in the water. Everybody goes, "There's a shark in the water." Yeah, there's a shark in the water. I'd be more concerned if there was a shark on the beach.
Hey, if you're playing, you know what? If you're playing Maneater, there can be a shark on the beach.
Yes, there can.
All right. Next article is over 4%, 4% of PS5 owners have purchased a PlayStation Portal in the U.S. Coming from VG Charts, William D'Angelo. Basically, they just said video games industry analyst Matt Piscatella has talked about that there's an estimated 24.54 million PS5s sold in the U.S. throughout the end of 2024 and has an approximate 4% attachment rate. This amounts to around 980,000 Portal sales in the U.S. 4%. 4. Is that a lot?
Well, I was going to say, does anybody consider that
I mean,
a success?
No, 4%.
I guess Rangers aren't sucking tonight. What's the score, Tricky?
3-2.
Who's winning?
Rangers.
Okay, so yeah, they're not sucking tonight. Sorry, go ahead, Yield.
I would say 4% no. If you say 980,000, yeah, that's successful. But out of 25.5 or 24.5 million, no. In my opinion.
I mean,
I thought it was 100 million.
No. Over 100. So 24.54 million PS5 sold in the U.S. since launch.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So 4% of that is 980,000.
4% of American PlayStation
US.
5 owners
Yes.
own a Portal. That's not worldwide.
Correct.
So they're over 1 million worldwide. It just
most likely, yeah.
It's very presumptuous of you, Tricky Nick.
I mean, the U.S. is at 980,000, Tricky. I'm sure there's another 20,000 out there
somewhere in the world.
Somewhere in the world.
Jurassic Park, he said 3-2. Get the horn out. Parker, you should have heard the horn. They all heard it.
So I consider this a set, and we don't know what Sony spent making this thing and what their profit margins are, or if they've made money back on it. But until Sony releases numbers, I don't consider this thing a success, because everything we've seen about it has been comments from analysts, speculation. And if this thing was really doing that well, Sony would be crowing about it. It's the same thing with everything. No matter what company, if you have something that's very successful and you can share with your investors, you're going to share it. So.
Well, for one thing, you can't really trust when Sony comes out with numbers, because apparently Sony likes to move the goalposts when it comes to things.
Accurate.
But they would at least talk about it.
And second, Red Big Rick in the chat says, I've been trying to get one for the last couple of weeks, but they've been sold out at the stores I have store cards for. So apparently he has like gift cards, and those stores are all sold out. He said, so they're only manufacturing what they need. That's what tells him.
I mean, that's not a bad way to do it. Look what they did with the VR2, and
how many sitting on the shelves?
And nobody wants them.
But see, the thing is, and just like the VR2, I mean, not really comparable, but in the same way of the VR2, a lot of people that don't own that or a Portal, they don't know how good it is. I was a Portal hater until I bought one. And I honestly, even when I bought it, I immediately had buyer's remorse, because I was like, I really don't need this, but I'm doing this so it's easier for me to play my PS5, blah, blah, blah.
Well, look at your situation now.
Well, no, that's why I bought it, is because of the situation I'm in now. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you for a fact, is it a niche product? Yes. Is it good? Yes. And it does help my gaming. So, on those times where, your wife or your girlfriend or whoever's sitting on the couch with you and they're watching Desperate Housewives and you just wanted to get a little gaming in, that's where it really comes into handy.
So does my Steam Deck.
The problem, though, is that
I didn't catch that little snide comment there, Matt.
Good, Alex.
So the problem with, and this may be different for other areas of the world, but here in America, I would assume that, and you can buy pretty cheaply a decent television. I would assume most homes in America have multiple TVs.
They do, but Alex, we are, and I'm gonna make an assumption here. we have pretty much understanding significant others. Both Matt and V, they're both gamers. Both you and Ashley are both gamers. I don't think your wife's much of a gamer, but she likes watching you play video games.
Yeah, she likes watching the more story-driven games.
She likes to watch her stories.
Right. Me and the goddess, we're both gamers, but most girlfriends, well, I'm not going to say most girlfriends, but there's a good number of girlfriends out there, and I'm not just trying to do a gender role here. Most girlfriends out there, they want to be next to their significant other, and they're not gamers. So a lot of girlfriends are not understanding of, okay, you want to watch the Desperate Housewives? I'm going to go in the other room and play a video game. No, they want you next to them. So that's where the portal comes into handy. I listen, it's a niche product. It's not for everybody. I get it.
Here's where the success factor comes in. And Rick says he wished he had the portal when he got his last tattoo. And Rick, I will say that is a very badass tattoo you got. I liked it a lot.
Oh, the Batman one. Yes.
Yes.
Shout out, Rick. That was
the nice thing about the portal is you don't need software to support it. Whereas the VR2, you need specific software to support it. The portal is a self-sufficient device because it runs off of your library that you already have.
Sorry, I just read Dex's comment in the chat.
Yeah, sorry, Dex, can't help you there, buddy.
That could be a problem, dude, Dex.
So that's why it's decent that people can pick it up and not worry about Sony failing to support it like they failed to support the PSP or the Vita or the VR or the VR2. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's been quote unquote successful. Is 980,000 units a success hardware wise? I don't know. To Alex's point, I don't know what they spent on it, so I can't say. I could say 4% doesn't sound great, but who am I to judge?
You know what I think?
I was gonna say, like Yield said, the 4% doesn't sound very good, but the 980,000, that sounds like a better stat to put out there.
You know what gets overlooked?
It is until you compare it to the 24.5 million. It's like 980 out of 25.5 million. No. When you've got all the numbers, no, it doesn't. If you just use the 980, that's impressive.
I thought somewhere I saw there was 100 million sold PS5s.
There may be 100 million PS5 sold worldwide, but no, because I thought it was something. I'll check. Alex, you say something because I know you've been waiting.
Y'all who bought the portal have essentially bought 2 consoles to play one game. To play your game library, you've essentially spent money on 2 consoles. That to me is bonkers.
Okay. 65 million PS5 sold worldwide as of November 2024.
Parky said he heard 70 million.
I definitely
got
70 million by now.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, let's talk more sales numbers, which I know everybody's so enthusiastic about. But
hold on. Before you do that, just to recap on Dex's comment that we were laughing at. Dex says the portal wouldn't work there, even though his wife isn't a gamer. She uses the 5 to stream her shows.
And Rick says $300 for a PPV is bonkers to me. I don't know. No, it's $200.
What PPV? What's that?
Pay-per-view, which is why I don't know why. I don't know, Rick. Please elaborate.
Yeah.
Is it a different price over there?
Probably. Everything's different over there.
Just get a Peacock.
Coming from Tweaker Town, Jack Connor, PS5 sales are outpacing the PS4 sales in the US by around 7%. Rick says Alex spent $300.
I was talking about you going to the Rumble.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, globally, the PS4 sold around 117 million, and at this point in the PS4's life cycle, the PS5 has outsold the number of PS4 sold in that same amount of time. And womp womp, unfortunately, the Xbox Series consoles have trailed the Xbox One sales by around 18%. I don't see how that's accurate when Microsoft said basically everything is an Xbox now.
And that doesn't make sense either, because it says by this time around, the PlayStation 4 sold 117 million units, and we just looked it up, and the PlayStation 5's only sold 65 million.
No, they're talking about by this point in time in its life cycle. If you put the two next to each other.
Right. But the headline was the PlayStation 5 is outpacking the PlayStation 4.
Stop. Hold.
Okay.
At this point in its life cycle, the PS5 has outpaced the PS4 sales. That is separate from the PS4 117 million. Over its life cycle, the PS4 has sold 117 million during its time. Separate from this first 50 months. You look like you're not following me.
No, I'm listening to you, but I thought the PS4 sold 190 million.
They would outsell the PS2.
Wait, I'm confused. All right, talk. I'm losing my mind.
PS4 lifetime sales, 117 million. For the first 50 months, so from November 2020 to December 2025, PS5 has sold 70 million, right? We all agree on that.
Got it.
That's just saying that has sold more in that time frame than what the PS4 sold at the same time frame in its first 50 months.
I was confused because for some reason I thought the PS4 sold 190 million. That's my mistake.
No. Again, I will say that if that's the case, it would have been a better selling console than the PS2.
That's what I'm admitting. I'm wrong here. Okay, shut up. Don't make me come to Kentucky and give you a rock bottom.
I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, let me see. Let me know when you're coming.
I got
this.
$3.50 here, $10 here. All right, we're gonna start a fundraiser to send Tricky out to Alex. So
look, we got really good food here, Tricky. You can eat something besides pizza for once.
I'm afraid to eat anything. You guys put peanut butter and everything.
You know what, Tricky? We'll take you down to the Brown Hotel. We'll get you a good old hot brown.
In chat, Dex says Tricky is an Xbox.
Fuck you, Dex.
All right.
Dex, I think you're brilliant.
I'm going to forgo thoughts on that article. Sales numbers are okay. They are what they are. This, however, is MultiVersus is shutting down, this time for good. Coming from Polygon, Michael McWhirter. So the next season will be the crossover multi-platforms last, with services ending May 30th. Though the game will remain playable offline for local play, including AI opponents. And kicking off on February 4th, 2 new characters will be introduced, including Aquaman and Lola Bunny. And note, this is the 5th and final season of MultiVersus, which is one more than what Suicide Squad did. Just putting it out there.
And 5 more than Concord got.
Hey, Matt, look at Skype for a second.
Yeah, I know. I am number 1. Thank you.
Hey, you know what, Matt? Hey, like Suicide Squad's on the PS Plus now, so it's gonna save it. It's gonna regenerate. It's gonna reinvigorate that game.
Really? Is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't hear the sarcasm in his
I'm reading
voice?
into your hopeful anticipation.
Yield, I didn't even add that game to my library.
Neither did I.
Dex says he used to like us.
All right. Do me a favor. Add it to your libraries just in the
I don't think I
off
can.
chance.
Can I?
Yes. You can until February, whatever.
You can't until Tuesday. You can't until Monday at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
do
I'll
it.
get around to that.
Listen, just do it, because on the off chance you want to play it in the future, you have it.
I don't care. I can tell you.
Don't be stubborn, Yield.
Look, it's not.
It costs you nothing other than a click of a button to put it on there. You don't even have to download it to your system. Just make sure it's in your library.
Look, man, I don't care about the Suicide Squad.
If you don't click that button,
care about the Suicide Squad.
If you don't click that button, you're just being fucking stubborn. That's bottom line.
I don't want to play the Suicide Squad. I don't want to play as the Suicide Squad. I don't care about them at all.
And what happens in a year if you change your mind?
I wanted to play as the Suicide Squad until we were flying around like Superman.
You're not. Oh my god. I think you just say that to trigger me now, Yield.
Well,
Rick?
some of it, and honestly, that was my dude. I kid you not. That trailer.
You don't fly around.
That 100% sold me off. I know you don't, but it's basically flying. You can run up buildings and jump really high and glide or whatever. I watched you play it when we were recording, and I was just like, maybe this will change my opinion of the game. I'm watching someone I know play the game, and I was watching you play it, and I was like, yeah, no, not doing it for me.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I was using Deadshot, who does have a jetpack, so it didn't look like
he doesn't have his superpower. He didn't have his superpower either.
Rick says too much effort. He doesn't want to click a worthless button either.
See, thanks, Rick.
Anyway, this is not about Suicide Squad. I just want to bring out a point. It is about Rick, though, I'll tell you that much. It is. MultiVersus is shutting down. You know, the game that came out said we're going to shut down for a little bit and come back bigger and better. And
you think that's what killed it?
Failed. I think that played a large part. You killed the momentum because you took it away from people. There's no reason for them to have taken it away unless there were money issues or something was inherently broken in the game.
I honestly, I mean, without any kind of knowledge, I think it was just a licensing issue.
Well, I also think that the license is the issue. People don't want to play as Arya Stark or
Lola Bunny.
It doesn't make sense to be Superman in a fighting game.
Don't you besmirch Lola Bunny.
I don't want to go down this path.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with all these games. The problem with all these games, Nickelodeon All-Stars, MultiVersus, is they're not fucking Super Smash Bros. That's the problem with them. Because they came out with a quick successor to Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl. As far as I can tell, that game has gained no fucking traction whatsoever. And then now you have MultiVersus shutting down. People want another Super Smash Bros. Game, and these other games cannot hold their attention because they're not Super Smash Bros.
No, I was literally thinking of this to say, I know Smash Brothers has, Mario and Zelda and Link and Samus. I was about to say Metroid. I could have taken away my gamer card real quick.
Your gamer card's been taken away a long time ago.
My issue is Bugs Bunny has a longer history than Mario ever will. You'd think that there would be some fondness for being able to play him in a game very much like Smash Brothers. The problem is, these games will never control like Smash Brothers. They will never be as good as Smash Brothers because Smash Brothers has gone through the Nintendo art of perfection, and people don't want to play as Arya Stark or Lola Bunny.
Shaggy. Norval Rogers, Shaggy from the Mr. Machine. That dude always ran away from a fight. Always ran. He was always scared. And then you're going to put him in a platform brawler? No, thank you. But the problem is that Super Smash Bros. Is the first platform brawler. The first mascot platform brawler that everyone fell in love with, that everyone grew up with, and you can't supplant that. And given how well the games were received, how well they played, how fun they were, and people have so many memories tied to those games, you can't overtake them. Like nothing could ever match them, I don't think. Now you had like Power Stone was kind of, it wasn't the same thing, but it was another brawler, a 3D brawler. I'm taking that in the wrong direction, but really, these other games are trying to benefit from Super Smash Brothers, and they just cannot. They can't.
Look, Foam Stars. Like seriously, it's all of these. Foam Stars, PlayStation All-Stars Battle, all of these keep trying to copy a trend Nintendo has perfected, and it just doesn't work.
There's been too many Super Smash Bros. Has been around too long and had too much fanfare and too much fan service poured into it.
Alex, I don't think your argument is wrong, but I think it loses a little velocity when you talk about these games being on the other consoles because PlayStation and Xbox owners don't have an ability to play Smash Brothers, so there should be a Smash Brothers equivalent on those systems.
Hey Matt, how many Switches have been sold?
154 million, probably more now.
I am willing to bet. There's a lot of crossover with those PlayStation 5 owners. I'm willing to bet that a lot of those PlayStation 5 owners own a Switch as well.
So you're saying that PlayStation and Xbox should never have a brawler like that? Because they just can't compete?
I guess, but how many of them have been successful? How many of them have lasted?
Rick says, I don't play Smash Brothers. Nintendo is not relevant to me at all.
I'm sure that plenty of people agree with Rick, but if you cannot deny the fact that Super Smash Bros. Is the one that started this trend, and all these games are trying to benefit from the popularity of that game, and the fact that they keep failing despite the fact that they are on a console that does not have Super Smash Bros. There's something to that.
And again, they're trying to copy a trend. Somebody's about to hate me, but I bring up the idea of Diddy Kong Racing or Crash Nitro Racing versus Mario Kart. I'm sorry. It is not as good as the original. It's
not as
different.
Popular. Not as popular. The mechanics of Diddy Kong Racing were, I grew up with Mario Kart. I was a fan of Mario Kart. The mechanics of Diddy Kong Racing are just better. But
if that were true, anyways.
You also got to remember that Rare was bought by Microsoft and not Nintendo, and you would have definitely seen another Diddy Kong Racing if Nintendo had bought Rare.
Say it loud for the people in the back, Jurassic Park.
Congrats, Rangers not sucking tonight. Alrighty. Can we move on to our questions?
Time to check my social media, yeah.
To get the non-gamer stuff out of the way real quick, and I see Galadrius the Mighty. Welcome into the chat. Redbeard Rick says, go Aragorn.
The Mighty just followed the channel as well, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. Thomas asks, what matters more in pizza, crunchy crust or the overall taste?
So we're going texture versus taste here?
Yep.
Which is more important to you, the crust or the overall pizza?
No, the overall pizza.
The pizza. Like the bread is just the vessel to get the sauce and cheese and meat and whatever into your mouth.
What the hell did I do?
Galadrius the Mighty says this is Miller's fault.
What the hell did I do?
Redbeard Rick says taste, fuck your crunchy crust. And he says he wants a nice crust to dip.
Oh, wait, I think I know who that is, by the way.
Okay. I'm going with overall taste because a shitty pizza can have crunchy crust. I'm not about that.
Yes.
I mean, look, sometimes I want a nice soft crust. You can have different variations on the texture of the crust, but if the pizza tastes like shit, you're not going to want to eat it. So it's got to be taste.
Yield?
I'm about the taste of the pizza.
Okay. Tricky?
Because I prefer stuffed crust pizza than crunchy crust. So.
Ooh.
Okay, I figured out who that is, and they're just here to troll me now.
Okay.
But again, thank you for the follow. I think the overall. I mean, I'm only a fan of second day crust, but Yield brought up a good point. I'm a big stuffed crust guy too.
Wait, hold on. Is second day just leftovers? Is that what you call leftovers? Because you're eating it on the second day?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think Matt will back me up on this, but there's something about cold pizza the next morning.
Delicious.
Oh.
Okay, maybe Matt's not going to back me up.
I cannot stand cold pizza.
I love cold pizza.
It depends on the pizza.
Now, V loves cold pizza. So we went to this place by us for dinner last Friday.
Goddamn right.
And I got a personal pizza, and it was a pepperoni pizza, and they had hot honey spread over it. And it was fucking fantastic. And then had to make sure because V wanted to see what it would taste like cold. She said she loved it. I won't eat cold pizza.
I think when it comes to cold pizza, it really depends on what toppings are on it. I would say a cheese pizza, definitely. Pepperoni, you're starting to get a little edgy. You start putting mushrooms and other meats on there, it gets a little worse.
Mushrooms and other meats.
What do you mean it gets better?
No, I mean cold wise.
Yeah, it gets better.
Listen, will I eat a cold slice of pizza if there is absolutely no way to warm it up Shit, I'll even throw that sucker out on a rock in the sun to warm it up real quick. But if there's no other way for me to heat it up and I am starving, then I'll eat it. But no, you won't catch me eating cold pizza voluntarily.
I remember as a kid, I don't do this much as an adult, but I remember much as a kid, I would take the crust, cut it in half and then put butter in it, and I'd eat my crust that way.
Galadriel says he thinks a shitty pizza is one with no sauce and barely any cheese. Might as well eat dried bread. And then Rick says he's gone vegan, can't eat mushrooms anymore.
Well, fun fact, I'm actually
no. So hold on, Matt. Because Tricky called mushrooms and other meat. That was my point earlier. Is Tricky called a mushroom a meat? So that's where Rick's
I meant mushrooms and or other meats.
Yes, but you're still okay.
Anyway, you as Alex likes to do, he likes to twist my words into something I didn't say.
Bullshit. No, Rick interpreted it that way too. That's why he made that comment. So it's not just me.
And V is in the chat saying cold pizza for the win.
I guess he overheard you talking.
Yes, I literally heard a yell from downstairs.
Cold pizza is delicious. You wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, and it's a cold pizza. Oh my god.
Yeah, I will say it is nice when you're kind of hungry. And you're like, man, I want to eat something. And you walk over to the fridge and you're like, oh,
I'd rather microwave a pizza than eat it cold.
But is pizza ever as good microwaved or reheated?
No.
As when you first get it?
In an air fryer or via the oven, via a pizza stone, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
They actually
that way, yes.
They actually give instructions on the boxes now where they say reheat for 5 minutes at 450.
You know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to sit here and run my oven or anything or an air fryer when I just can have a nice slice of cold pizza that I
know what I'm not going to do? I am not going to eat a slice of cold pizza.
I have been enjoying
You know what Matt's going to do? He's going to fire up the oven.
I have been enjoying
find
cold
a nice
pizza.
hot rock outside, as he said.
I have been enjoying cold pizza since I was a child, and I would continue to do it till the cradle to the grave until I die.
Next question.
Moving on.
Thomas S. Also, best opening theme song for a game. And David writes and says Skyrim.
Not that I'm a fan of the game, but I do think the opening theme to Borderlands is pretty fucking cool.
The first Borderlands is really good.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Doggone it, what game?
Well, while you're thinking, honorable mention, Kingdom Hearts.
Never played Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, that's where I was going. Rick says the Blitzball theme to Final Fantasy X. I hard agree.
I mean, I'm a fan of Chrono Trigger, so I'm gonna say Chrono Trigger.
Wait, hold on. What's this? What was the question? Sorry.
What's
the best opening theme? Video game opening theme.
Jurassic Park, he says Borderlands 2.
No, Borderlands 1 is better.
Much better.
So we're talking like the startup screen?
No, like if there's an opening theme song.
But could the startup screen be considered that?
If it has a theme song, yeah.
Oh, with Mega Man 3. Easy.
Ooh.
Such a cop-out answer.
No, dude.
It's such a wrong answer.
That is such like the screen is black and then it starts playing and then it hits you with, oh my God, it's phenomenal.
Okay, I'm going with Mega Man 2 since that's the theme I use for my ringtone.
The Mighty says no love for Halo. Fuck Halo.
Also, Tricky.
Halo is a good. So the opening.
Apparently,
choir,
this is a good question because the chat's going a little wild on this.
The opening choir for Halo is good. Is it the best? No, I'm not going to say it's the best opening theme song. Parky says Kingdom Hearts 3 is a banger too.
Tricky, is Nate's theme from Uncharted, is that ever an opening theme in any of the games? Because I would be surprised you wouldn't say that, because that's phenomenal too.
Say that one more time.
Is Nate's theme from Uncharted ever an opening theme in that game at all? Or any game in that series? Because if so, I'm surprised you wouldn't say that.
I'm trying to think if the theme was the same in all the Uncharted games.
This is a hard. Okay, so opening theme, I think is a different definition for people, because I would say any a song that's playing during the startup screen before you hit start the game, I don't necessarily consider that an opening theme. But if there's a kind of like a trailer that leads up to the startup screen, then I think that's an opening theme. Does that make sense?
Oh, Burnout Paradise has a good one, but that's officially licensed.
Yeah. Because, okay, just for my distinction, when you start up Legend of Zelda on the NES, would you consider the song that's playing in the back, is that an opening theme, or is that a startup screen?
That's the opening theme.
Yeah, which the traditional Legend of Zelda theme is not the opening theme, and I argue is better than the opening theme of the Legend of Zelda.
Well, first of all, if we're talking about Legend of Zelda, the best opening theme is Ocarina of Time. when you see Link on the back of Epona.
Dex is being a smart. Says, I'm surprised Tricky didn't shout out the Division 2.
I was waiting for him to throw out Last of Us.
Was Division 2 good enough to have an opening theme?
Yes. Matt, you're gonna have to go back because there's a lot of games mentioned.
Yeah, I know. All right, so we'll blitz this real quick. Let's see. We hit that. V says Final Fantasy 15. Arky again says Borderlands 2. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a banger. Saber asked why the Halo hate. Nobody's hating Halo. Just said it's not the best theme. Galadrius. What?
I'm hating on Halo.
I'm hating on you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Xbox
got to it before I could.
No, Halo's freaking. Hey, you give credit where credit is due. Those first 3 Halo games are masterpieces. I don't care who you are.
It's official. I yield to no one is an Xbox.
There ain't anything wrong with that. Galadrius says he wants to go with a little more obscure Tengen Tetris for the NES. Rick says Duke Nukem 3D. Dex, I'm surprised Chicky didn't shout out the Division 2. Jurassic Uncharted 4 has a Thief's End version in the intro. Galadrius then says Castlevania 3 for NES. Rick says, nah, Link to the Past. All right. I think we've covered it, and we've all covered like 3 or 4 best themes, which defeats the purpose of the question.
Good question there, Saber.
Good question. Final question. Let's see if I can make sense of this one, buddy. Now that many companies have lost vast amounts of money, will they actually change their ways and start making good stories again and make an event where you correct your own characters? There's back when games were good.
Okay, allow me to be the Thomas interpreter here.
No, Thomas, thank you for the question. We'll get to that next time.
I actually kind of had a question.
Okay, yield.
So, what gaming series have you come in the middle of and never played the original?
None.
Really?
I always go back and play the original.
So really. So like me, I've played Jurassic Park. You got me all messed up. I've played Just Cause 2 and 3, 4's in my backlog. I'd never played the original Just Cause. Going back and replaying Red Faction Guerrilla made me realize that Guerrilla is actually the 3rd game in the series, and I never played the other 2 I never played the other 2 Red Faction games. That's what kind of got me thinking about this question was,
You know what? I just lied because I played Saints Row 3 and never played Saints Row 1 or 2.
Well, and that's another one too. I played Saints Row 3.
For me, I did the Saints Row thing as well. I started and ended with 3, but an even better example I think would be Resident Evil. I started with 5, played 6, played Revelations, and then went back and played 4, and that's all I've done.
Rick says Elder Scrolls and Fallout started on 4 and 3. Jurassic says Silent Hill 2, never bother with 1. Yeah, Rick, dude, I agree. That's a mistake. For me, Monster Hunter. I started on 3 Ultimate, played almost every game moving forward, never went back to play the original or DOS or Freedom United, or all those other ones that were on Sony's Forgotten Systems. So, yeah, that was a good one. Good round of questions. Appreciate it all. Now, on to our topic of the week, and this is kind of a spin-off from the MultiVersus issue. Live service games. Love them or hate them. Well, a bunch of us play them. Live service games feed off of not just maybe an initial purchase, but a purchase after the fact. Maybe it's a microtransaction. Maybe it's a macro transaction costing you as much as the game initially did. But, you know, there's an article out there where players are saying that they spent $100 on a package in MultiVersus and now they feel scammed. However, it's a live service game. You know, if I go spend $200 on coins in Destiny 2 and they shut down 3 months from now, do I have a right to be upset knowing that's a live service game?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm on the fence on this one because I'd be pissed.
You have a right to be upset, but you may not have any recourse for action.
There you go, Alex. That's what it is. I'd be pissed that I just invested in this and then now you're bailing on me. But on the same token, it's a live service game. So at any time, they can pull the plug. So it's kind of risk reward. Yes, you have a right to be pissed, but screaming foul. I feel for you, and that's about as far as I'm going to go with that because it's murky. It's a giant gray area that no one has tackled or talked about or, you know, cleared up. And it really depends on what side of the fence you want to stand on.
Because I bring it up to this point, and it's something I've said time and time again. If you want to own your games, stop buying anything past the PS2 era. And that's because there's games now that... I'm sorry, what was that, Alex?
Oh, that's a good point, Matt.
There's games that require always-on internet connections. And even if you buy physical, whether it's just a code on a disc that you have to download the game, or you want to play, but the servers are no longer online. Look at what happened with The Crew. You know, I argue the distinction between physical and what was it? Physical versus digital games versus items you buy in a game, whether you have it physically or digitally. That in this day and age, I kind of know that what I'm spending my money on may not exist a week from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is. So I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that I may never own a game again. And as a result, am I going to be upset? Yeah. But like you said, is there really any recourse? No. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting when you look at it from a lens of where games are these days, that you really want to look at what you're spending your money on and is it truly where you want it to go. I know I spent the $7 on Amenti. I got 2 hours out of it. That's $7 I'm never going to get back in my life.
We got 2 hours out of it.
We got 2 hours.
We got 2 hours out of it.
You know, Steam, it's always, I've said this before, what's the doomsday scenario that Steam goes offline and the thousands of dollars I've spent on games on Steam, okay, maybe $1,000 with all the sales, all the games I bought on Steam go offline. Again, I kind of know that there's going to be a scenario where some games I bought are no longer going to work because that's the way things work now. So in that aspect, I don't really have a right to be upset because I know what I'm spending my money on. I just bring this up as a topic to say, you know, you spend money on a game that may not have the best support or from either the studio or the crowd or the players. Be careful where you're spending your money on.
All right. I want to make a break real quick. Rick brought something in the chat that I'm not sure any of us were aware of. And we'll go more into it next week in the agenda. But apparently Herman Hulst is no longer PlayStation's co-CEO, but his role isn't changing. They're just no longer calling him a co-CEO anymore. We'll go more into that next week, but I did want to bring that up because that passed obviously all us by. So, Matt, I just sent you a link.
I haven't seen that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't see that or have time to discuss it beforehand to really make a discussion of the topic. Welcome in channel 3, whoever's behind the 1s and 2s on that one.
Yield, I did put a link in the Skype chat so you can go look at the article.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, back to topic of the week. Any other thoughts on the fact that you're spending your money on digital goods that won't exist 10 years from now?
I think as gamers, we have some kind of an expectation that any money we put into a game, whether it be on a microtransaction or a DLC, we kind of know like that money's lost at that point, and we're only gonna be able to, play this content or do this so many times. When it comes to live service games, I think there needs to be set an expectation of how long this game is going to be viable for. Unfortunately, a lot of people spent their money on Concord, and then Concord got shut down.
They got refunds, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It got shut down rather quickly, but Sony offered them refunds. MultiVersus, if you went out and just spent $100 on, characters and coins or whatever the currency is, and then they announced this, I'd be a little pissed. At least what they did with Marvel's Avengers is when it came to end of service, they just made everything in the store free for everybody. Boom. Have everything. I think there needs to be some kind of expectation with live service games to say, this is, we're going to have the server up for another year or two. We'll support it for another year or two, but we're shutting it down. So then you give people proper time to be notified and not have to spend money.
Well, hold on. With the Avengers example, if you spent any money on Avengers and then they just gave away everything for free, wouldn't you be pissed?
Yes.
Well, yes, but the amount of things that they gave us for free was so massive that I couldn't see anybody realistically buying everything in the game.
But you have people getting mad over PlayStation Plus games when they said, "Oh, I bought this game and now people get it for free." That I guarantee people got pissed in Avengers when they're like, "I spent money on this, and these people get it for free."
Which I understand people get mad about that, Alex, and I get annoyed by it.
It's counterpoint to Tricky. That's what I'm saying. It's counterpoint to Tricky.
Well, no, because a lot of times there's PlayStation Plus games that come out and I've already owned them.
Okay.
I just chuckle and be like, that's good for those who held off and can now get it for part of their subscription. When I buy games and they end up coming up, like Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable is free. Well, but it was free last month listening to this episode.
I definitely clicked the download button on that one.
And I saw it come up as a free game this month. I kind of chuckled because I had just recently bought it, I think within the last 3 months. But I picked it up super cheap. So I'm not overly upset, I'm just like, well, okay, figures, but I'm okay with it because I got a good deal. What annoys me is when you buy something, let's say at full price, and then it comes around and, hey, you can get it for free. That would really annoy me.
See, I think. Get out.
No, you can go, Tricky.
I was just saying. Just in my words of there's got to be an expectation of when the game's going to be shut down. I also think that if God of War Ragnarok, just use that for example, there's got to be a point from the point that everybody bought it from the day it released to the point that everybody gets it for free. I'd be pissed if Ragnarok came out free 3 months after I bought it, but if it comes out a year and a half after I bought it, I'm not upset about that. You're trying to breathe new life into the game. So that aspect, it doesn't bother me. But there's oftentimes on the PlayStation Plus games that comes up, it's like, oh, I already own this. I already own that. I'm not getting anything for it. And that kind of pisses me off a little bit. But then I look at it as like, well, I was an early adopter. What pisses me off now is like the Stars program, and how often it's like, buy this game and you'll get this many points or whatnot. Meanwhile, I already bought the game, but I bought it before you started offering this, so that pisses me off. That's happened to me like 4 or 5 times already. Astrobot was one of them. I bought it, and then like 3 days later, it was like, oh, buy Astrobot and you get bonus points, and I'm like, well, I just fucking bought it 3 days ago. Give me the credit. But get back on topic. Live service games. I think there's got to be a period of, we're going to shut this game down, but we're going to give it support for this amount of time. And at 6 to 9 months before it's shut down, that's when you stop anybody from being able to purchase any other currency. And I think that's what MultiVersus is doing. I think they're shutting down the ability to buy anything. Correct, Matt?
Yes. I don't think you can actually buy anything left on it.
Yeah, so I think that's good, because then you're not going to get somebody who doesn't know this news or whatnot accidentally making a purchase and then being blindsided.
Well, I mean, they should at least be able to buy characters. If you can buy you can play on offline against AI. You can still use the characters.
I don't know exactly what they're stopping.
So, Tricky, while you look that up, I'll make my point. I think this is a generational issue, because we all grew up buying, in my lifetime, my dad bought Betamax, VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray. We grew up buying NES cartridges, N64 cartridges, PlayStation discs. So obviously we grew up understanding and feeling like if we bought something physical, we owned it. For a new generation, like children today, they're growing up in an all-digital space, to where if they put money into something and they just basically have a license to use it for a certain period of time, they're probably more okay with that than some people our age. So they're going to grow up in a completely different mind space than people from our generation. So I think it's a generational issue, to where we grew up owning more things like VHS, and to where kids today, maybe some of the kids in the community, they just play in an online space, and that's fine for them. And they're going to grow up understanding that maybe they don't own anything. They just put money in to play something.
Yeah, I just put it in the Skype chat, but according to the article, Warner Brothers has already ended real money transactions for the game, meaning players can no longer purchase the premium currency Gleamium. So I don't know how you get characters in the game. I would assume that's one aspect, but I've never played MultiVersus, but I believe you can earn the characters in game. I could be wrong about that.
I mean, personally, I think that if you're feeling upset about it and you spend a bunch of money in a game shutting down, I think you have every right to feel that way. That's completely normal. But realize that there's really nothing you can do about it, and it sucks. But you just have to make peace with. First, you have to ask yourself, hey, I play this game, and if I buy this skin or this cosmetic, am I going to be okay with in a year if I no longer have access to it? You kind of have to make those decisions and think about that when you're about to make one of these purchases.
Well, let's make it a little personal for you three. What if they come out today and say we're shutting down the Helldivers in 3 months?
You son of a bitch! You had to go there.
I'm just asking, if they came out and said we're shutting down Helldivers in 3 months, are you going to really be upset?
I'm glad I've got my platinum. I'm glad that I was able to not put any money into the game other than what I initially did, and I earned all of my stuff in game. So I wouldn't be mad, but I would understand those who were mad.
Or if you want to switch out Helldivers, say Rocket League.
No, because
it's run its course.
No, I wouldn't be. I mean, the game has been out since 2015. I've had a chance, like I bought a few things here and there, like the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, and I'm happy I bought them. I enjoyed having my goal score and having the theme when I scored a goal and having different cars. But I've the understanding that if Rocket League goes away, that stuff goes too. There's no there's local, isn't there? Local play. Can you do that?
No.
Yeah, you can do split screen.
But it's like 1-on-1, so that's not nearly as fun as like the 3-on-3.
Yeah, and you can also play against the computer. You can do your season mode.
So Helldivers and Rocket League, I put enough time in those and I spent not a large amount of money. I put some money into both, but not like an egregious amount to where I would be. Basically, if the games went away and I didn't have access to that content anymore, I would be fine with it. And Helldivers, honestly, the content, it's not like in like Fortnite or Rocket League where you have these crazy amped up cosmetics and costumes. It's basically just guns and the costumes look cool, like the armors for the Helldivers, but honestly, if you didn't have access to it anymore, it's not like, oh man, my Thanos skin went away. It's honestly just like almost looks like real military gear, and that's, I don't know. I just don't have as much of a hard on for that stuff as I would say like my car looks like Oogie Boogie. I don't know. I would get more upset about losing the Oogie Boogie car than the guns and the armor for Helldivers, but that's just me.
Matt, use Helldivers. I don't think you play Rocket League.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, have I gotten my money out of Helldivers? Absolutely. Would I be upset? Yeah, but also there's plenty of other games for me to get out there on. So, listen, I'm not the one funding these companies, so to speak, to keep their servers online.
Here, I'll give you an example of one thing that would upset me. Is if I lost all my Pokemon from Pokemon Go. That would upset me because I put a lot of time into those. Now, they do have Pokemon Home, which you can move Pokemon to and then use those in the main series games. But I'm hopefully they would give you enough time. Like Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are usually really good about giving you the heads up, like, hey, the service is shutting down. Get your shit out before then. So I would assume in that case.
Okay, but the question then becomes, how much of a notice do you want? Is 3 months okay? 6 months okay? Is a year okay?
So here's what you need to understand about a little education on Pokemon Go. So you can only transfer, you have energy, right, to transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Home. You use different Pokemon, legendaries, shinies, all that, use different amounts of energy. So unless you want to pay money to instantly recharge that energy, you have to wait a certain amount of days to then transfer Pokemon over again.
Okay.
So
I wasn't talking about directly Pokemon. I'm just saying.
I get it, but as a main example I used.
Well, if they were going to shut down Helldivers, how much notice would you want?
Well, I can't remember what it was, but I know that they gave people who used Pokemon Bank, which was a previous service prior to Home, as a way to move around your Pokemon. I'm tricky. As a way they gave. I don't know if you remember exactly how much it was, but it was a good amount. It was more than 6 months, maybe a year, that they gave notice that this service is going to end. Get your shit out.
Okay.
As far as Helldivers, if I wanted notice of how long, I would want them to say, hey, you know what, enough notice for me would be like, hey, this is our final war bond. Enjoy it. You guys, no one has to buy in. I think if you're doing a final war bond, say, hey, access is free to everybody. Enjoy the game for as long as it's up. After that, we're taking it offline.
Alrighty. Well, I am happy that this conversation took the route it did, but I think now we're just speaking in circles. So with that, let's bring us to the end of our show. Yes, thank you, Tricky. I'm not going to repeat myself. So we are going to move into shout-outs. Yield, go right ahead.
I'll write them down next week. I don't remember everybody. So I will give a shout-out to the Red Faction Guerrilla Boosting Group. It's hard to organize 6 people in different time zones. But they've been champs at doing it regularly and then committing to everybody who was in the group by Tuesday that they would make sure everybody who was in that group would get through it before they bailed. So I appreciate that. Shout out to Alex, Tricky, and Matt for recording this evening.
You forgot your name, Matt.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get old. Your mind's the first to go. Oh, shout out to Volition, because Red Faction Guerrilla is really fun. It's kind of fun to go back and play those older games and then realize that, you know what, this still holds up for the most part. controls on the driving kind of suck, but it is what it is. But otherwise, the game's still fun. Oh, there's probably something else, and I can't think of it right now, so we'll just call them shout-outs for the week. Oh, and shout out to all the pimps and mounds of the Whoredom. I almost forgot that.
Very good. Alex?
Shout out to the listeners, the fuel to the fire, the Trophy Whores, our awesome community. Thank you all very much for supporting the show. We appreciate it. It's really we don't go without you all. So thank you all very much for joining us and continue to support us here in 2025. Matt, if you wouldn't mind pulling up a list of the people in chat tonight and reading them off. I couldn't remember everybody. So I don't want to name anybody if I can't remember everybody. Give a shout out to my co-host Matt, Tricky, and Yield. Matt the Grinelli takeover is in full effect, and I'm loving every second of it. Just like Loverboy, loving every minute of it. Give a shout out also to my friend Lee, who joined me. Like I said, longtime friends, went to our first Royal Rumble together. Really enjoyed it. So grateful that we could do that, and also grateful to my loving and girlfriend, awesome Ashley. Love you, hun. Thanks for keeping everything at home all in order and taking care of the pets while I went away and got to enjoy some wrestling.
All right, Tricky?
All right, before I do my shots, I just wanted to say, Thomas, apparently there was another question you did, but it was caught up by spam because you put two words together and I thought it was a link, so I put it in spam, so we'll answer your question next week. Shout out to everybody that listens, everybody in the chat. We had a couple people come in. I'm not going to name you guys all because I don't remember you guys all because I'm getting old. Shout out to you guys for recording. And shout out to the goddess and Sweet Mama D.
All right. Well, first, thanks to you, gents, for recording and supporting the Grinelli takeover at all points and effects. Thank you to those in chat. Here we go. Dex, Jurassic, Rick. We had Ray from Channel 3, Channel 3 admin. We had Galadrius. We had Saber. We had, let's see, is there anybody else? V, Dex. I think that's it. If I missed you, I'm sorry. I should really start writing these down. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to go to channel3.gg for some social media on games and playing games and talking about games. A lot of fun. Yes, Dex, you got 2 shout outs because you are that awesome. And shout out to my wife, V. Thank you for everything that you do. And with that, Tricky.
Happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Later.